And we're back with Bob Woodward, who was the author of The Final Days, about the final days of Richard Nixon in the White House. I want to read one passage of your book, Bob, co-authored with Carl Bernstein, where you talk about Nixon's final days, where he's approaching the possibility of resigning. And there is speculation among the staff saying, suppose he went crazy and tried to use the military to retain office. Two men wondered if perhaps they should raise the question with Secretary of Defense James Schlesinger. And Bob, there were other concerns that the Secretary of Defense had at the time. And I'm reminded of this today because we have reporting that President Trump was, within the last 48 hours or so, discussing a possible strike against Iran.
Yes, that's always possible. And again, I think it emphasizes the extraordinary power that the president has, a sitting president, even one who is soon to depart office. And as we learn, presidents can start wars on their own. They are commander-in-chief. They can employ the force as they see fit. Congress can take away the money, but that's unlikely, particularly if it's a reasonable military operation. Now, whether one in Iran or somewhere else in the world would be reasonable, I don't know. One of the things in doing this reporting for almost 50 years, Lawrence, is that there are people in the military, in the intelligence world, in the White House, who won't do certain things. They just say no. People have often discussed, well, suppose Trump ordered the FBI to break into reporters' offices or homes or arrest them. I don't think there are a lot of FBI agents who would do it, and I think their supervisors would say no. So I think I can see Trump discussing possibilities, maybe kind of testing the waters to see how whether people would go along with this, like so many Republicans have gone along with this idea, this declaration that he has won, and kind of given him running room on the issue, which they shouldn't have done. So that's something to keep in the back of the mind. But what happened in the Nixon final days was that his chief of staff, Al Haig, who was a retired temporarily general in the Army, when Nixon started talking about maybe taking his own life, and saying to Haig, in the Army, they leave a pistol in the drawer. Haig ordered all of Nixon's pills taken away so he could not take his life that way. And as best we know, there was no revolver in the drawer in the Oval Office or in the residence, any place. So there are people who will step up and stop things.